Good morning. So happy Wednesday. And today, continuing our exploration of compassionate listening, I wanted to just talk about very briefly the idea of how it's so important sometimes to be mindful of the idea that true compassionate listening is actually not about um, listening to provide a solution or an answer. And just to kind of illustrate that point, I'm going to just read to you actually a quote from a doctor who was very, very famous years ago, Bernie Siegel. He was actually one of the first doctors to come out kind of talking about the person as a whole being when we're looking at their health. He was a doctor up at Yale um, University and Hospital. And he had this quote that he shared, and he said, "You can hear your loved ones, no matter how poorly your ears work. I know deaf people who are able to hear with their hearts, and I know people with perfect ears who drive their families crazy with their lack of hearing. I know about this firsthand because our children used to get upset when I read the paper and watched television while they were talking to me. They'd say, 'Dad, you're not listening.' I would repeat all the things they said to prove I was listening. But they told me that being able to repeat their words was not the same thing as hearing them. Hearing means listening attentively to what they had to say. Today, when one of the children wants to talk to me, I put down the paper, turn off the television, and listen to what they have to tell me. I also have learned how to say, in many ways, and to stop trying to solve everyone's problems. They thank me for listening. It helps them to clarify and solve their own problems." I know that was a rather lengthy quote, but I think it really, really summed things up well, I know for me at least, when it comes to that idea of compassionate and attentive listening. You can tell this was definitely written a while ago when he speaks about, watching TV and reading the paper. Nowadays, it's probably more, looking at your phone, although TV is still definitely a part of it as well. But, oftentimes, how many people, will express frustration? I'm talking to you and you just keep looking at your phone. Oh, but I'm listening. And I loved his point how, he could look up and then repeat everything they'd said. But how for them, the experience was that, but you weren't listening, you weren't paying attention. And how he then spoke about learning to, say, as he put it, say, or just, acknowledge that he was engaged and actively listening, but without providing answers, without providing solutions. And I think that is a great challenge for many people, myself included. Sometimes you sit there and when someone is sharing a problem or sharing something that's upsetting for them, very often, because we are being compassionate, but sometimes we equate compassion with feeling that we need to fix it. And that puts a pressure. It puts a pressure on ourselves, and it can put a pressure or a frustration on the person speaking. Because very, very often, they're not actually looking for you to fix it. They're just looking to be heard. And I love how he says in the final thing, it helps them to clarify and sometimes solve their own problems. Because again, as we've often said, we have such wisdom within ourselves, each one of us. But it's creating that space through mindfulness practice and being quiet, and also providing that space for others through compassionate and quiet listening and mindful listening. And letting people then explore themselves and hear themselves and hear the inner voices within themselves that can then often lead to them finding their own answers. And as we do that, as we provide that space and provide compassionate listening, it's giving us such important understanding and knowledge too of another's experience in a way that you wouldn't be able to get with a more superficial type of listening. And again, it's through that compassionate listening, it's through that greater understanding that also creates greater unity and ultimately peace. So I want to just take a moment to think about some of those thoughts. Let's go into our practice and settle in and just reflect on the idea. Compassionate listening, being there, being present for others, but without having to fix or solve or provide the answers to others. Take a nice breath in, out. Letting yourself settle. Allowing yourself to find the natural rhythm of your breath. And with each breath in and out, allowing yourself to feel the quiet and stillness settling into your body. And knowing that this stillness is allowing for an opening of your heart, and an opening of your ears. As you allow yourself to be quiet and still, you're allowing yourself to be present and open to hear others and their stories. And knowing that being present and allowing them their story is all you need to do. There's no pressure to solve or fix. Merely to listen and love. And by providing that space of quiet, love, and attentiveness and presence, solutions may arise naturally. And this stillness provides the space for yourself as well to listen to your thoughts and be your own attentive listener, just allowing. But by allowing and being open to listening to yourself, you will often find your answers. All is well. Everything is working out for our highest good. Out of this situation, only good will come. We are here, we are listening, we are safe. So I hope you were able to feel that experience of settling into the quiet and opening up to listening without the intention or pressure of providing an answer or a solution. And as a final thought, I wanted to just share this quote from Rabbi David Zaslow. Compassionate listening is a process rather than a product. It is healing precisely because it does not pretend to have the answers. Rather, it engages the participants in processes that have each side seeing the humanity of the other, even when they disagree. Have a wonderful day. Practice compassionate listening and be well.